Your credit score is sitting at 580, and you're convinced the dream of homeownership is dead on arrival. But what if the banks are actually more flexible than they're letting on? We're talking about a system where a 3-digit number can feel like a life sentence. Yet people are buying homes every single day with credit that most lenders would describe as, let's say, colorful. Here's the thing. Bad credit isn't some mysterious curse. It's almost always the paper trail of a few very human decisions. A missed payment here, a maxed out card there, maybe a medical bill that went to collections while you were just trying to survive. Understanding the mechanics of your score is the first unlock. Because once you see that your FICO is basically a math equation, not a moral judgment, the whole thing starts to feel a lot more manageable. The FHA loan program exists precisely because the federal government looked at the traditional mortgage market and said, yeah, this is leaving too many people out. With a score as low as 500, you can qualify for an FHA loan with 10% down. And if you're at 580 or above, that down payment drops to 3.5%. Now, before you start planning your housewarming party, let's pump the brakes and talk about what qualifying actually costs you in the real world. Lower scores mean higher interest rates, and on a $300,000 home, the difference between a 6% and an 8% rate over 30 years is literally tens of thousands of dollars. So the urgency to repair your score before you buy is very, very real. The psychological trap most people fall into is thinking credit repair takes a decade, so they give up before they even start, but the data tells a wildly different story. Aggressive, strategic action on your credit report can move your score by 50 to 100 points in as little as 6 to 12 months, which is the difference between a brutal interest rate and a reasonable one. Here's your fast-track playbook. Dispute any errors on your report immediately, because studies show roughly 1 in 5 credit reports contain mistakes significant enough to affect your score. Then, attack your credit utilization. Getting your card balances below 30% of their limits can produce visible score gains within a single billing cycle. People often believe that closing old accounts or avoiding credit altogether is the safe move. But that's actually financial folklore that can backfire spectacularly. Age of credit history and available credit both factor into your score. So sometimes the best move is to do less, not more, and let time work quietly in your favor. History shows us that credit cycles and housing markets have always had this push-pull relationship in the aftermath of 2008. Millions of Americans rebuilt their credit and came back to buy homes stronger than before. Every generation has its version of this story, and the lesson is always the same. The score can be fixed, the house can be bought, and the timeline is shorter than fear makes it feel. Let's talk about the programs nobody tells you about. Down payment assistance, state housing, finance agency loans, USDA loans for rural areas with 0 down, and VA loans for veterans that require no down payment and no PMI. These aren't loopholes. They're features of the system designed specifically for buyers who aren't walking in with perfect credit and a suitcase of cash. The practical strategy here is not to rush. It's to run a parallel process where you're repairing credit and saving simultaneously, so that by the time your score crosses 620 or 640, you also have reserves. Discipline beats urgency every single time in this game, and a calm, documented, methodical approach to your finances will impress underwriters far more than a frantic sprint. Position size matters here too. Don't buy the absolute maximum home you qualify for just because the bank says you can. Buying within your means with a repaired credit score gives you a buffer. And that buffer is what keeps people in their homes when life inevitably gets complicated. At the philosophical level, what we're really talking about is reclaiming agency over a system that profits from making you feel powerless. Your credit score is not your identity, your net worth, or your future. It is a snapshot of a moment, and moments change. The beautiful irony is that the people who engage with this process patiently and rationally almost always come out in a better financial position than if they'd rushed in with a great score and no preparation. Preparation, process, and patience aren't just credit repair virtues, they're homeownership survival skills. Whether your score is 500 today or 680, the path forward exists and it is navigable. The only question is whether you're going to treat it like a crisis or a project. Projects have timelines, action steps, and outcomes. And this one ends with your name on a deed. If you're ready to take the first step, whether that's exploring real estate investing, getting contracting work done on a property, or connecting with lenders who work with real buyers in real situations, check out the links in the description below and let's get you started.